All glories to Srila Prabhupada and the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
All glories.
I just wanted to welcome everyone to Saturday morning's Bhagavad-gītā class, which is a global class. People from around the world are attending. And we want to encourage you in your specific area to continue to expand the preaching work of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in your area and try to embrace others into our program. There are 3 classes a week that we're running right now. That's Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Is the Chaitanya Charitamrita class, the Saturday morning class, which is the Bhagavad-gītā class, which begins at 10 a.m. and Srimad Bhagavatam class on Sunday, Eastern Standard Time, Canadian time or US time at 10 a.m. in the morning. I wanted to make a comment first so that everyone is clear here. We are a Prabhupada Disciples Association group. We have a Facebook page, Prabhupada Disciples Association. And we're also launching Prabhupada TV in the very near future. And then we'll also be launching a newsletter, Prabhupada Disciples Association. So Prabhupada Disciples Association does mean that we are fixed on Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada as our Diksha and Siksha Guru. I want to be clear with that what we do is teach other people the same principle. For example, in terms of the books, we promote Prabhupada's unadulterated books, the unchanged versions. And just like we read the books, and study them carefully, we teach the new people that are coming into this group, the Prabhupada Disciples Association, or either followers, aspiring students to get initiated, or those that are being initiated or will be initiated in the future, that Prabhupada is our Siksha and Diksha Guru, very simply. I want to make that clear. And when people have questions, philosophical questions in these classes, remember, try to stick to the topics that are discussed during the class. This is not an istagosti type environment where you just come off and start asking questions off the top of your head because you're confused that week about the philosophy. Look, there's no harm in you asking questions, but there are different formats for these questions. You know what I mean? There are different formats, and they'll be developed in our Prabhupada TV programming. So there'll be istagosti type questions. There'll be, we're going to be doing a special streaming show called The Whistleblower. There's a lot of people that are blowing the whistle on people in the other movements. And we'll discuss those at that time. But this class and these readings are specifically, this is for the new bhaktas that are coming. These classes are specifically to discuss the topics in the books, the passages, and the purports that we're reading daily in our classes, or weekly, I should say. So that's very important for everybody to be aware of that. Otherwise, we find ourselves going off in tangents and discussions which are maybe not the best for this environment, because this environment is specifically for Prabhupada's books, specifically for the topics that we're dealing with here at the Prabhupada Disciples Association. Be clear, Prabhupada Disciples Association, the association of people that are either Prabhupada disciples or aspiring disciples, they're looking for initiation, or followers. Whatever category you're in, we're all the same as servants of the servants of the servants of the pure devotee of Lord Chaitanya A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. If anybody has any confusion, please reach myself or Yaśodā during the week and let us know. Last, before we start the class, I wanted to mention that we will be going ahead to print books as a representative of the BBT from Canada here. I'll show you here. I have an original Bhagavatam somewhere. Where's my Bhagavatam? Here it is here. Excuse me, sorry. These are the Bhagavatams from 62. This is the 62 first canto. We have the first original books, unedited and presented by Prabhupada. He did these in India before he came from India to America. Were the only books that we had when we first started the movement. So like at the temple here in Hamilton years ago, all we had were these books and little blue Gitas. That was it. There were no BTGs per se, and there were no other books, small books or whatever. So despite the fact that we had very few books, these books quite satisfied all of us in terms of our pursuit of transcendental knowledge. So we're planning to print the Bhagavatams, Easy Journey to Other Planets. I believe Yaśodā has a 59 version, and Sri Upanishad, a 69 version, and a couple of other small books that will be distributed from Canada here, from the BBT as a publisher. We're not the BBT trustees, but we are representing the BBT illegally as printing the books. And these books will figure out together as a group how we're going to disseminate them into the society and continue to present Krishna consciousness for the benefit of humanity at large. So thank you very much again for coming to the class. It's a pleasure to get everyone's association here, and those that are diligent in attending. Your participation is well appreciated and recognized by all of us. So right now, I'd like to turn the class over to our respected speaker, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, and we'll carry on with the nectar of the transcendental message of Lord Chaitanya coming through the lips of the pure devotee, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Jai.
So today is a very auspicious day. This is the day of Gita Jayanti. This is the day where Bhagavad-gītā was spoken by Lord Krishna to Arjuna. So we will read the introduction, then I will read one or two verses from a text called the Gita Dhyanam, or Meditation on the Bhagavad-gītā, that was published in 1969 in the Back to Godhead magazine. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shcham Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagunara Gunatan Anvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaguna Lalita Shri Viśvakarmā Shcha E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati, Gopesha Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta Namostute, Tapta Kanchana Gourangi, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Vrishabhanu Suti Devi, Pranamami Hari Priye, Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavibhyo Namo Nama, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I will read one or two texts on this sacred auspicious day. Om Partaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayana Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhya Mahabharatam Advaitamra Varsinim Bhagavati Mashtadasha Dhyayanim Ambatvam Manusandadami Bhagavad-gītā Bhavadveshinim. O Bhagavad-gītā, with which Partha was illuminated by Lord Narayana himself, and which was composed within the Mahabharata by the ancient sage Vyasa. O Divine Mother, the destroyer of rebirth, the shower of the nectar, and consisting of 18 discourses, upon thee, O Bhagavad-gītā, O affectionate Mother, I meditate. Namo Stute Vyasa Vishala Buddhi, Fullara Vindaya Patapatrena, Yena Tvayata Bharata Tela Purnaha, Prajvalitu Jnanamaya Pradipaha. Salutation unto thee, O Vyasa, of broad intellect and with eyes like the petals of a full-blown lotus, by whom the lamp of knowledge filled with the oil of the Mahabharata has been lighted. Prapanna parijataya tutravetre kapanaye jnana mudraya Krishnaya gitamrita duhe namaha. Salutations to Lord Krishna, the Parijata, or the Kalpataru, or the bestower of all desires for those who take refuge in him, the holder of the whip in one hand, the holder of the symbol of divine knowledge, Jnana Mudra, and the milker of the divine nectar of the Bhagavad-gītā. Sarabhopanishadu Gavu, Dugdha Gopala Nandanaha, Parto Vatsa Suder Mokta Bhokta, Dugdam Gitamritam Mahat. All the Upanishads are the cows. The milker is Lord Krishna. The coward boy is Partha Arjuna. Arjuna is the calf. Man, the purified entailers, are the drinkers, and the milk is the great nectar of the Gita. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsacharana Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Bhande Jagadgurum. I salute Sri Krishna, the world teacher, son of Vasudeva, the destroyer of Kamsa and Chanura, the supreme bliss of Devaki. Bhishma Drona Tata Jayadrata Jala Gandhara Nilotpala Shalyagraha Bhati Kripena Bhani Karnena Vilakula Ashvatama Vikarna Ghora Makara Duryodhana Vartine Sutirna Kalu Pandave Rana Nadye Kevartaka Keshavaha. With Keshava as the helmsman, verily was crossed by the Pandavas the battle river, whose banks were Bhishma and Drona, whose water was Jayadratha, whose blue lotus was the king of Gandhara, whose crocodile was Shalya, whose current was Kripa, whose billow was Karna, whose terrible alligators were Vikarna and Ashwatthama, whose whirlpool was Duryodhana. Parasharya Vachaha Saroja Mamalam Gitartha Gandhotkatam Nanakyana Kalesharam Arikata Sambuna Bodhitam Loke Sajjana Shatpaderaharaha Pipiyamanam Muda Bhuyadarat Pankajam Kalimara Pradvam Shinah Shreyasi. May this lotus of the Mahabharata, born in the lake of the words of Vyasa, sweet with the fragrance of the meaning of the Gita, with many stories as its stems, fully opened by the discourses of Lord Hari, the destroyer of the sins of Kali, and drunk joyously by the bees of good men in the world, become day by day the bestower of good to us. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande paramananda vardhanam. I salute that Madhava, the source of supreme bliss, whose grace make the dumb eloquent and the crippled cross mountain. Yam brahma varudanda marutahastuvanti divyastavaihi vede sangha kramopanishader gayanti yam samaga dhyana vastita tadgatena manasa pasyanti yam yogino yasyantam naviduhu sura suragana devaya tasme namaha. Salutation to that God whom Brahma, Indra, Varuna, Rudra, and the Maruts praise with divine hymns, of whom the Sama chanters sing by the Vedas and their Angas in the Pada and Krama methods, and by the Upanishads, whom the yogis see with their minds, absorbed in him through meditation, and whose hands the hosts of Devas and Asuras know not. Hare Krishna. So today we'll be reading from chapter 7. I believe we're in text number 2. All translations, synonyms, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshyami asheshataha yasgyatva neha bhuyonya jnatavyam avashishyati. Jnanam, phenomenal knowledge. Te, unto you. Aham, I. Sa, with. Vijnanam, noumenal knowledge. Idam, this. Vakshyami, shall explain. Asheshataha, in full. Yat, which. Nyatva, knowing. Na, not. Iha, in this world. Bhuyaha, further. Anyat, anything more. Na, not. Iha, in this world. Bhuyaha, further. Anyat, Jnatavyam, knowable. Avashishyati, remains to be known. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and noumenal, by knowing which there shall remain nothing further to be known. Purport by His Divine Grace. Complete knowledge includes knowledge of the phenomenal world and the spirit behind it. The source of both of them is transcendental knowledge. The Lord wants to explain the above-mentioned system of knowledge because Arjuna is Krishna's confidential devotee and friend. In the beginning of the 4th chapter, this explanation was given by the Lord, and it is again confirmed here. Complete knowledge can be achieved only by the devotee of the Lord directly from the Lord in disciplic succession. Therefore, one should be intelligent enough to know the source of all knowledge, who is the cause of all causes, and the only object for meditation in all types of yoga practices. When the cause of all causes becomes known, then everything knowable becomes known, and nothing remains unknown. The Vedas say, Yasmin viññāti sarvameva viññātan bhavanti. So we'll read the next text as well. Manushyanam sahasrishu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tattvataha. Manushyanam, of men, sahasrishu, out of many thousands, kaschid, someone, yatat.
Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, are you there? I think we lost.
Here,
Let me just check.
is that better?
We cannot see your video. We can hear you.
I know.
Okay.
Let me see here. I can see the video myself. Hold on.
I've just sent you a request to start video. Yes,
It still doesn't do it. It says
Yeah, we
safe
got it.
driving mode.
we can see you.
Huh?
We can see you now.
I can't see anybody, so I'll keep talking.
You'll have to swipe to the right or to the left on your screen.
I slide to the right, nothing happens.
Okay. That's okay. You can continue. We can see you.
Yatatam, of those so endeavoring, api, indeed, siddhanam, of those who have achieved perfection, kaschit, someone, mam, me, veti, does know, tattvataha, in fact. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection. And of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Purport by His Divine Grace. There are various grades of men, and out of many thousands, one may be sufficiently interested in transcendental realization to try to know what is the self, what is the body, and what is the absolute truth. Generally, mankind is simply engaged in the animal propensities, namely eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, and hardly anyone is interested in transcendental knowledge. The first 6 chapters of the Gita are meant for those who are interested in transcendental knowledge, in understanding the self, the super self, and the process of realization by Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and discrimination of the self from matter. However, Krishna can only be known by persons who are in Krishna consciousness. Other transcendentalists may achieve impersonal Brahman realization, for this is easier than understanding Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Person, but at the same time, he is beyond the knowledge of Brahman and Paramatma. The yogis and jnanis are confused in their attempts to understand Krishna, although the greatest of the impersonalists, Sripad Shankaracharya, has admitted in his Gita commentary that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But his followers do not accept Krishna as such, for it is very difficult to know Krishna, even though one has transcendental realization of impersonal Brahman. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes. The primeval Lord Govinda, Ishvaraha Parama Krishna, Sachidananda Vigraha, Anadiradir Govinda, sarvakarana karanam. It is very difficult for the non-devotees to know him. Although non-devotees declared that the path of bhakti or devotional service is very easy, they cannot practice it. If the path of bhakti is so easy as the non-devotee class have been proclaimed, then why do they take up the difficult path? Actually, the path of bhakti is not easy. The so-called path of bhakti practiced by unauthorized persons without knowledge of bhakti may be easy, but when it is practiced factually according to the rules and regulations, these speculative scholars and philosophers fall away from the path. Srila Rupa Goswami writes in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidhim Vina Ekantiki Harer Bhakti Rutpatayeva Kalpate. Devotional service of the Lord that ignores the authorized Vedic literatures like the Upanishads, Puranas, Narada Pancharatra, etc., is simply an unnecessary disturbance in society. It is not possible for the Brahman realized impersonalist or the Paramatma realized yogi to understand Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as the son of Mother Yashoda or the charioteer of Arjuna. Even the great demigods are sometimes confused about Krishna. Muhyanti yat surayaha, mam tuveda nakashana. No one knows me as I am, the Lord says. And if one does know him, then samahatma sudurlabha. Such a great soul is very rare. Therefore, unless one practices devotional service to the Lord, he cannot know Krishna as he is, tattvataha. Even though one is a great scholar or philosopher, only the pure devotees can know something of the inconceivable transcendental qualities in Krishna, in the cause of all causes, in his omnipotence and opulence, because Krishna is benevolently inclined to his devotees. He is the last word in Brahman realization, and the devotees alone can realize him as he is. Therefore it is said, Atasri Krishna namadi na bhaved graham indriyaihi sevan mukehi jivadu swayameva spuratyadaha. No one can understand Krishna as he is by the blunt material senses, but he reveals himself to the devotees, being pleased with them for their transcendental loving service unto him. Padma Purana. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaham Namaum Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Bhagavad-vandanam Kadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshataham Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrindam Shri Rup Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatha Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I offer my respectful obeisances. We offer our respectful obeisances unto our spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, who has opened our eyes from the darkness of ignorance with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. So these are two very important verses. We see in a purport of text number 2 at the end, Prabhupada is quoting from the Vedas, Yasmin Vijñati Sarvam Eva Vijñatam Bhavanti, which basically mean when the cause of all causes becomes known, then everything knowable becomes known and nothing remains unknown. Because sometimes devotees ask Srila Prabhupada, what does that mean when it says that the pure devotee knows everything? And Prabhupada's reply was that this means that the pure devotee knows everything to be known about Krishna, as well as the nature of the living entities, the material world, material nature, like that, and our relationship with Krishna. It doesn't mean that the pure devotee has to be an expert to change the radiator on a 1959 Chevy truck. That's not what it means. Knowing everything means to know. Like Prabhupada explained in the following purport, that Krishna is the cause of all causes, the primary Lord Govinda. And Srila Prabhupada quotes that verse from the Brahma Samhita. I've already told that story before, but I'll tell it again. We were in Bangalore in 1972, and one so-called Pandit, impersonalist, Mayavadis, came to argue with us. And he says, well, Krishna told Maharaj Yudhishthira to lie, and Krishna did this, and Krishna did that. So Guru Kripa took him on, Guru Kripa Swami took him on and defeated his arguments. So the next time we saw Srila Prabhupada in Vrindavan in October of 1972 at the Radha Damodar temple, we told Srila Prabhupada about this encounter with this impersonalist. And Prabhupada basically told us, he says, yes, that is good reply, but what you should tell him is that unless you understand who is Krishna, who is the personality of Krishna, it is impossible to understand Krishna's activities. And Prabhupada said, you preach like this, you give him 3 verses from Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha, Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. This is the verse Prabhupada is quoting here in this text number 3, second paragraph, excuse me. Then Prabhupada went on and says, you quote in Bhagavad-gītā, chapter 7, text 7, Matta Parataram Nanyat Kinchidasti Dhananjaya. There is no truth superior to me. This is Krishna's position. Then you quote in Bhagavad-gītā, chapter 10, text number 8, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavato Matta Sarvam Pravartate. Iti Matva Bhajanti Man Buddha Bhava Samandita. He says, first you explain to him, to anybody who challenges Krishna, that first you must understand the personality of Krishna, then you may have a chance to understand Krishna's activities. So this is the blessings of His divine grace upon the whole world and upon all of us, that through His beautiful purports, He has explained the transcendental personality of Lord Krishna. Just like in the first chapter, Prabhupada, first paragraph, Prabhupada is explaining the difference between the impersonalists and the yogis and the devotees, the different levels of realization. This is a very important point because some people are confused about what is really the actual path of bhakti. What is the nature of that path and how to practice this path? That's why Prabhupada quotes from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu on page number 366, Shruti Smriti Purana Adi. This is a very important verse because some people say, well, this devotee or that group of devotees, they're not speaking according to the Shastra, they're not speaking according to the tradition, this and that. But Prabhupada is explaining here that devotional service of the Lord that ignores the authorized Vedic literatures, like the Upanishads, Puranas, Narada Pancharatra, etc., is simply an unnecessary disturbance in society. Now, it doesn't mean that someone has to go and try to find all of these different books or whatever translation by whoever it may be. that one has to hear these literatures from the authorized bona fide Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. He is the empowered Acharya. He's the Acharya for the golden age, who has given the essence of all Vedic literatures, the meaning of all the Vedic literatures, and introduced practical engagement, practical practices for people to basically understand devotional service. It is the culture of bhakti is given by a Shuddha Bhakta, or a pure devotee of Krishna. This is what Srila Prabhupada has given. With his literatures, with his example, with his transcendental life and his purity. Prabhupada further explains that great personality, even demigods, are sometimes confused about the personality of Krishna. He quotes several verses here. Mam tu veda nakaschana, muhyanti yatsurayaha. No one knows me as I am. What Prabhupada has delivered is the actual perfect transcendental knowledge about the position of Krishna. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. Prabhupada, by his purity, by his potency, has given the essence of all transcendental knowledge. And if anybody submissively hears, very quickly they will be elevated. He's also given the Maha Mantra, which is the key to getting rid of all the nescience that we've accumulated for millions of lifetimes. At the end of this purport, Srila Prabhupada is explaining, no one can understand Krishna as he is by the blunt material senses, but he reveals himself to the devotees, being pleased with them for their transcendental loving service unto him. We saw last week these few verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, text 17 to 21, where Prabhupada is explaining the whole process of bhakti, the entire process of bhakti, how to become purified from the material contamination by hearing about Krishna. It is very, very potent. There is one letter Prabhupada describes, even if they don't read the book, if they just keep the book in their house, or if they just touch the book, they'll be benefited. This is very, very potent. Even in the Srimad Bhagavatam itself, there's a verse that says that Lord Krishna is directly present in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is not simply a speculative literature. This is a transcendental literature. And the whole process to understand the literature is given in the beginning of Bhagavatam. Paramo nirmatsararam satam. This literature is meant for those who are nirmatsarana, non-envious. In the material world, everyone is envious of everybody else. This is the disease, why we are here in the material world. So to understand the sublime transcendental message of the Bhagavatam, one has to become purified of this envy. Well, somebody may say, well, how do we do that? We see on page 363, text number 1, to hear about Krishna from Vedic literatures, or to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad-gītā is itself righteous activity. And for one who hears about Krishna, Lord Krishna, who is dwelling in everyone's heart, acts as a best wishing friend and purifies the devotee who constantly engage in hearing of him. In this way, a devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental knowledge. And Prabhupada goes on to explain the whole process. This is very similar to the verse that Rupa Goswami Prabhupada has given in the Nectar of Devotion, where he explains Okay, here we go. Comments or remarks? Jiva Goswami Prabhu, I see your hand is almost up. Go ahead, Prabhu, make a comment.
Yes, Prabhu, thank you so much. Hare Krishna. I'm just so enlivened by these classes and very grateful that we have this association where we can actually learn what it is that Srila Prabhupada wants us to know, because by learning from this literature, from the Bhagavad-gītā and from the association of devotees, I can gradually see that my life is changing for the better. Yeah, and I'm extremely grateful for that. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Any other comments or remarks? Questions?
We have
Yes, Viśvakarmā Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you very much, Jiva Goswami, for your comment too. That was very well appreciated by all of us. And it's important for people like yourself to be able to relate your own realizations for the benefit of others who are also searching for understanding who Prabhupada is. It's very important for everyone here to study not only the books of Srila Prabhupada, but also to have a detailed understanding of his life. Because here in the Gita, this verse that we've just read says something very profound. Out of many thousands among men, well, let's be bold enough to say out of many billions of men, one may endeavor for perfection. And of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So in this particular case, in relation to Prabhupada, before he came to America and started the Krishna Consciousness movement, how many people out of 350 million people in North America knew the truth or the true purpose of life, Jiva Goswami? How many people knew?
Hardly any, maybe none.
Good answer. Actually, the answer is correct. No one. So if you think about it, Prabhupada is unique in the history of mankind. Time and circumstance brought him to the shores of America under the order of his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, who's in a chain of disciplic succession from Lord Chaitanya, the Shaktivesha, or the golden avatar for the Kali Yuga. So this is a very unique position that Prabhupada is in, because Krishna is describing his position here. Hardly one knows me in truth. Now, the most important thing that we should do is understand who Prabhupada is. It's very important to study his life. There's all kinds of information about it. Not recommending certain versions of his biography, but in general, you can study about his life. You can realize by seeing the history behind him, how he endeavored for many, many, many years on his own without the help of any of his god brothers. In fact, not only without their help, without any recognition from them or appreciation, he carried on single-handedly to carry out the mission of a spiritual master. Well, Prabhupada came here, remember this, everyone. He came here with less than $7 in his pocket. He almost died on the boat coming on the Jaladutta, coming from India to America by the grace of Srimati Maraji. I was in Bombay in 1975, and I was with Prabhupada on a walk, and he came by the house of Srimati Maraji, the owner of Scindia's steamship lines. And somehow or other, being in the group, she had one of her servants come over to ask me to come and visit her at her house. So I thought, oh, it was kind of a bold request. But anyway, I thought, okay, I'll go see her. So I went to her mansion. She has a mansion on the coast, because I realized that she had done a great thing. She had enabled Prabhupada to travel free of charge on her boat, the Jaladutta, to America. And so she has a significant role in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada's pastimes. So I went and saw her. It was, and it was an interesting meeting. I was still a brahmachari at the time. And she had me come into her office for about 25 minutes. And she asked me a series of questions on the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Now, why did she do that? Well, she was testing me. That's what she was doing, to see if I really understood the philosophy of Krishna consciousness as had been taught to us by Srila Prabhupada. She was testing to see the potency of Srila Prabhupada by his fruits, by what he was teaching us. So Prabhupada is in a very unique place in history, everyone. And so are we, the followers, the aspiring students, and the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Some people think, oh, I was in New Vrindavan a few years back, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I went to New Vrindavan on a trip. I don't know, just to see how it was, because I had such, let's say, traumatic experience with New Vrindavan years ago, having had to work under Kirtananda Swami, who was the GBC of Canada. It was a transcendental nightmare, let's say. And I lost all my desire to go to New Vrindavan and to see that place at all. Even though it was an important place in Prabhupada's pastimes. What had happened, one of the devotees from Hamilton that we preached to years ago, maybe 25 years ago, became, carried on Krishna consciousness. And he moved to New Vrindavan. He got married to a daughter of one of the members, one of the Prabhupada disciples. And he was promoted to the position of vice president of New Vrindavan. So from Hamilton here, he became the vice president. So he invited me to come there and speak on Krishna consciousness, on Prabhupada's pastimes at the Prabhupada Palace. So not being, angry, despite the abuse that we underwent under the regime of Kirtananda, I thought, okay, it's a good thing for me to go down. So when I was there, that was the reason I went with Drupada Prabhu, and who's the former head pujari of Krishna Balaram Mandir when Prabhupada was alive, and Mother Subhuti, who's been a devotee for 50 years, who I helped her and her family become devotees in Toronto in the early 70s. So we took her. So the three of us went down there, and I was invited to lead the kirtans the days that I was there by the president. I can't remember his name. It was some guy, disciple of one of these gurus that they have, so-called gurus. And then, so I was giving a class, Srimad Bhagavatam class, every day. Actually, I gave it 3 or 4 days, and then I asked Prabhupada to speak one day as well. And then, so after the class one day, some lady came up to me and started to ask me these, if I could use the term, negative questions towards me. Not trying to ask questions about the class or about the Bhagavatam or Krishna consciousness. At any rate, I was looking at her, I was trying to think, who is this who's asking me these questions? So I asked her, who are you, by the way? And she says to me, oh, my name is Malati Devi Dasi. Malati. Now, if some of you may know that Malati was married to a fellow Shyamasundar, and her and Shyamasundar were sent to England to, along with Mukunda and his wife in the early 60s, or in the 60s, to start the Krishna consciousness movement there. So she was, I thought, oh, I've heard of her, Malati. I'd never met her, but I had heard of her. And then she looked at me, she says, I'm part of the first wave of devotees. I thought, what does that mean? I'm part of the first wave. I thought, okay, you joined then. And a few years prior to when I joined in 1970. So I think she had joined a few years before. Now, what did I think about that? First wave, second wave, third wave, fourth wave, fifth wave. Does that mean anything in the scope of eternal time? Well, maybe in some sense, okay, it's good that you came then, and it's good that you did some service then or whatever. But really, the most important devotees are the devotees that are accepting Prabhupada's position. Hardly knows me in truth that Prabhupada is the pure devotee, and the devotees that are joining now with us and becoming Prabhupada disciples, they're the real wave of the Sankirtan mission of Lord Chaitanya. Just know that. You do not judge people when they became devotees. Oh, he's a senior devotee by date in time. No, senior devotee means someone who is accepting himself, or she is accepting herself as servant of the servant of the servant of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is the greatness of a devotee. And that was the greatness of Srila Prabhupada, everyone. So Prabhupada is a very unique person in the history of the world. And all of us as Prabhupada disciples have a duty. If you want to call yourself a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, if you want to be a member of the Sankirtan movement, remember this, you have to serve. You cannot just look at this as an opportunity like a Bhajananandi. Oh, I think I'll just be, I'll study and I'll learn. Okay, that's good. But at the same time, you have to be able to devote your time to spreading Krishna consciousness. That is the responsibility of the Prabhupada disciples here in this group and all of the disciples throughout the world, and to present Prabhupada as Guru, Diksha Guru and Siksha Guru for humanity. Again, hardly one knows me in truth, and that person that is hardly that one is A.C. Bhaktivedanta, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda Ki Jai. So Yaśodā, please comment. Thank you.
You're on mute, Prabhu. Yaśodā Prabhu, you're on mute. I've sent you a request to unmute.
Okay. This is a very special day today because this is the day where the Bhagavad-gītā was spoken by Lord Krishna to Arjuna. And even in India today, there's many people who are celebrating this most auspicious day with celebrations and lectures and everything. So this is very, very special for us to focus, just like the Christians have got the Bible, the Muslims have got the Quran. So we, the people who follow Sanatan Dharma, I don't use the word Hindu Dharma because this is a social term which we don't find in the Vedas or Puranas or Upanishads or Bhagavad-gītā. But we are Sanatan Dharmis. We follow the eternal path of Sanatan Dharma. I wanted to relate an interesting story. In 1976, we were on a walk with Srila Prabhupada near Chatikar Road. This is the place where Lord Krishna killed the Chatikar demon, the cart demon, who had infiltrated in a big bullock cart and was trying to kill Krishna. And Krishna, as a baby, kicked the cart and the demon was destroyed. So we're having this conversation with Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada, I asked Prabhupada the question, why is it that in India, for thousands of years, there's been so many invasions? There has been Afghans, Turks, Arabs, people from Persia, people from England, people from France, people from Portugal. So many different people invaded India, Alexander the Great. But yet we see in India that the culture is still there despite all of these invasions. Why is that, Srila Prabhupada? And Prabhupada turned, he stopped, he said, because this culture can never be destroyed. It is eternal. Prabhupada, it is Sanatan Dharma. Even at the end of Kali Yuga, that culture will again be revived. So this is very important. We are not just following some temporary religiosity or some fanatical sentiment. No, this is a scientific explanation of who is God, what is our relationship with Krishna, what is our duty in that relationship, what will happen when the body dies, why are people suffering, what is life in other planets, what is the spiritual world. Just like recently I had a conversation with a Christian friend. I said, okay, in the Bible, it speaks of the Father. So what does the Father look like? Where does he live? What does he do? What are his activities? And it was the deer in the headlight look. Well, Father is great. Well, that's nice. That's good. It's a good start. But where is he? What does he do? Bhagavad-gītā gives us so much information. Srimad Bhagavatam even gives us further information. So this is our good fortune that Prabhupada has delivered that very, very important information, that transcendental nectar. Very, very important day for all of us to get absorbed in the Bhagavad-gītā. What do you think, Ram Raghava Prabhu?
Hare Krishna. Yes, I had run across that idea when I first came to Krishna Consciousness in high school, and some of my classmates who had told them about Krishna Consciousness too, and showed
We
them
cannot
some
hear you
background.
very well. You may have to speak a little louder.
When I was in high school, when I gave some of the books, Srila Prabhupada's books, to my high school friends, that was one of their reactions. They said, well, we've always wondered, we always hear that God is great and God is this, but we never really know what he looks like. But these books are showing us what God looks like.
Good. Dr. Ulysses, you have a question or comment?
Hare Krishna.
Go ahead,
Please
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. So regarding this verse that we're reading today, so there's a mention of jnana and vijnana, phenomenal and noumenal knowledge. So my understanding is that Bhagavad-gītā would contain those two, because Krishna is saying there's nothing further to be known. So I'm trying to understand within the Bhagavad-gītā, what would be phenomenal in the jnana category? Would that be the three modes of nature, like things like are easily verified by the senses? How can we?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There is knowledge of the body, the material nature, the modes of material nature, the interaction of the modes with the modes of material nature, how to come out of this entanglement. This is what it refers to as the noumenal, but it's also related to the transcendental knowledge that is given about the position of Krishna, the position of the path of bhakti, the result of following the path of bhakti, the spiritual world. There's many, many informations given in the Bhagavad-gītā like that.
So that would be
I
noumenal,
think that
right?
Prabhupada explains this in the introduction of the Bhagavad-gītā when he is summarizing all of the different 5 major elements discussed in the Bhagavad-gītā. I hope that helps.
When I started my devotional practice, I found that I was very much making very good progress by understanding the phenomenal aspect. In other words, the practical things that I could easily verify with my senses. For example, tasting prasadam, or understanding the three modes of nature. So like they are very easily verifiable by sense perception. But the noumenal aspect of it, when somebody says, well, there's a spiritual world and Krishna's dancing, these things are so far away from our reality that I find for a newcomer, they're very difficult to accept as truth. So I find that the phenomenal approach is very good way to introduce people to this knowledge. So I'm understanding that Bhagavad-gītā contains both phenomenal and noumenal, and therefore it is complete in itself. And that's why Krishna is saying there's nothing else to be known, because that's it. Like we don't need to know internet, or like you were saying, how to fix a car. So that I'm trying to focus on what is that phenomenal knowledge of the Bhagavad-gītā. Is it three modes? And pretty much the three modes of nature, the varnas, what encompasses that phenomenal aspect?
Well, just like I explained in the beginning, there are many things about karma, the nature of the material world, the three modes of material nature, the interaction, the position of the living entity. This is all related. It's not like one single item. This is all related as part of that aspect of transcendental knowledge. I believe Prabhupada explains this nicely in the introduction to the Bhagavad-gītā. You can read it there. Any other questions or remarks? Thank you for these comments, Bhakti Ulysses.
We have Ram Raghava Prabhu again.
Hare Krishna, yes, I had a question. Many times in the lectures, Srila Prabhupada mentions that Krishna consciousness is easy. He gives the example that you can chant, dance, and when you're tired, you can take prasadam. But in the purport we read today, he says that bhakti is not easy. So if you could please elaborate on that, those two concepts.
I think it refers to many people in India, especially impersonalists and yogis. They practice some kind of quasi-bhakti or so-called bhakti. Let me give you an example. One time we were in Tamil Nadu in a city called Coimbatore in 1972, and we were invited to a kirtan. And it was a hall full of sannyasis. There must have been 60 sannyasis, all dressed with saffron, and they all held the Shiva tilak. And they were chanting Hare Krishna. So we went there and they asked us to lead a kirtan and to speak. And afterwards, we spoke with the leader of this group. And he says, well, we follow the Vedas and we're followers of Shankaracharya, but we also chant Hare Krishna because it says in the Veda, in the Kali Santarana Upanishad. So then he explained his idea of bhakti was that, well, you practice the bhakti, you're going to merge with Vishnu. And we say, no, you're not going to merge with Vishnu. This is not what the Bhagavad-gītā is teaching. In chapter 2, text number 12, Krishna explains, you, Arjuna, myself, and all these kings are individuals and will remain individuals even after our departure. So there's a lot of different practitioners, especially in India, who practice some kind of so-called bhakti, but because they're not in an authorized disciplic succession, it's very confusing to people. It's just like Prabhupada was invited one time to a Gita convention in North India. And they had a hall with no picture of Krishna, no deity of Krishna. And afterwards, he made a comment. He says, what kind of Gita convention is this? There's no relation to Krishna, no picture of Krishna, no chanting of Krishna, and no deity of Krishna. So that kind of bhakti, which is done whimsically, without the proper guidance of a bona fide acharya, that kind of bhakti will be very misleading. It will mislead the so-called practitioners and mislead the people that follow them. That's why in the Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there's a very systematic process. In the beginning, it says, Ado Gurvashrayam. In the beginning, one has to accept the bona fide acharya. Otherwise, people get confused. Just like when we were in Coimbatore, we met a gentleman who had a Krishna temple. He was from Punjab. He was a very wealthy man. He became a life member. And he invited us to do kirtan, and he gave us money. And then he wanted to talk to us about that after this life, when you do your bhakti, you're going to merge with Bhagavan. And we tried to explain to him that this is an incorrect understanding. This is called impersonalism, Mayavad. That you think you're going to merge with Krishna. You're not going to merge with Krishna. Krishna always remains an individual person, and you remain an individual person. So that kind of so-called bhakti or pseudo-bhakti that is not practiced according to the Shruti, Smriti, Purana, Pancharatra, and under the guidance of a bona fide acharya, can be very troublesome. And just like I keep referring in the last couple of sessions, I mean, every single week I get somebody sending me these videos of some parts in that organization of people inventing mantras. And I was thinking, wait a minute, this is one of the fundamental principles of bhakti, that we get our mantras from the bona fide acharya. Sampradaya vihina ye mantraste nishpalamataha. Unless one gets the mantra from the bona fide disciplic succession and bona fide acharya, nishpalamataha will have no effect. So one has to be very careful where he gets the so-called practices. I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you.
Any other comments or remarks or admonishments? Yes, Bhakta Ulysses. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. A question related to keeping Bhagavad-gītā pure. You're talking about printing the books, and this is a wonderful endeavor. And I was researching about that, and the images in particular. Unfortunately, the original paintings that were made with a lot of devotion and directed by Prabhupada are not even available. Some of them, I didn't even see them, and I've been devotee for 15 years. I just realized so many images are missing. And so I was wondering if those can be recovered or they're lost in legal battles.
Well, there have been reprints of the Bhagavad-gītā by KBI, where they've reprinted all of the just like reprinted all the pictures. It's like I mentioned last time that when they reprinted the revised, adulterated Bhagavad-gītā in 1983, the first major mistake is that they deleted the pictures of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, Gaura Das Babaji, and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Then another thing they did, which is actually very dangerous, but I want to bring to everybody's attention, they have Srila Prabhupada's picture, but they deleted his title. In the 1983 edition, the pictures of all three previous spiritual masters have been removed, and only this changed picture and caption of Srila Prabhupada remains. Please note in this changed caption that greatest exponent of Krishna consciousness in the Western world has been deleted. Srila Prabhupada in the original 1972 Bhagavad-gītā, his title was given as the greatest exponent of Krishna consciousness in the Western world. When the editors printed in 1983, they kicked out Prabhupada's title. This is what it looked like, that picture, and the greatest exponent of Krishna consciousness in the Western world. Now, this is a very dangerous, you're bringing up a very good point, Ulysses, because what we have, there's been so many pictures that have been deleted. And what we're planning to do and are in the process of doing is reprinted in 1972 Gita as it is. It may take a little bit of time. We have to raise some funds, get it printed. But there's been so many pictures that have been deleted. Now, these paintings are still available. They're still there. I believe during Prabhupada's manifested presence, the Spanish Bhagavad-gītā was also printed. I'm assuming that you speak also Spanish, Ulysses?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't know exactly what year the Spanish Bhagavad-gītā, there was a devotee named Hare Krishna, who in Mexico was with some other devotee. Bhakti Raj was also involved. They arranged to translate the Bhagavad-gītā from English to Spanish. It was distributed. Now, I don't know what is being distributed now and what was done with these various editions. But as everybody knows who's aware of these controversies, most devotees accept Srila Prabhupada's bona fide 1972 original edition. But yes, KBI did reprint the original book with all the paintings.
Yes, I've seen
Any
that.
other question?
Oh, sorry. Just want to add a little comment that the only place there's some images that are not available altogether, like completely buried into a very obscure BBTI images website. And they even put those pictures edited and colored, and it's just so much hidden that it's a shame, it's a shame. But I feel that the whole original Bhagavad-gītā, if there's an endeavor to print it, would be also ideally the same size, because they shrink the book, they make the font smaller. Like in so many ways, Prabhupada put so much affection and very delicate craft into making the font size, the quality of the paper, so many careful, delicate things. So I think in this endeavor, if it's possible, it's not too expensive, to keep that high standard of quality.
That's a very good point. We're definitely going to take that under advisement. Very good point. Aprakrita Prabhu Viśvakarmā, if you have a comment.
Viśvakarmā Prabhu also raised his hand.
No, I'm sorry, Yaśodā. I prefer to listen, okay?
Okay. Viśvakarmā
Okay.
Prabhu, you had a comment?
Yes, just in terms of the Bhagavad-gītā and our printing of it. The Bhagavad-gītā book, the 72 version, we have an original copy of it, and it has been carefully reviewed in Russia, actually. We have a devotee in Russia who is astute with modern day editing technology. And he has carefully gone through the entire Bhagavad-gītā 72 edition. And that 72 edition, all of the pages have been prepared for printing. So this particular book, the 72 edition of the Bhagavad-gītā, the original version, is complete for us to print. And we'll be going forward with that in due course of time and presenting it to the world in its pure form. So that's as far as these other paintings and that. I'm not sure, Prabhu, if we're able to do it. But I can say this, that here's a 72 version here. Now, this one was done by, you can see the cover's different. This was a soft cover version that I got when I was the president in Toronto in the 70s. And we used it so much that the paper bound version of it, which this was damaged. So I had a fellow who had a printing company do these versions of it for us. So I had a bunch done by him to preserve them for us moving into the future. This looks like the 5th printing in 74. So it was a 1972 version. So I'm fortunate to have one here. And I just ordered a case of the original 72 versions, plus of the original size like this. Very expensive, by the way. They're being shipped from America. So I'm getting a case of 10 of those, and then I ordered a case of 20 of the smaller version like this. So in the meantime, we're going ahead, distributing these books as best as that we can, and then gearing up, hopefully with the help of all of you senior devotees, to help us proliferate this work globally. It's a very important service that we're doing. Yaśodā, please.
Any other comments or remarks?
Yes, Prabhu, I just, on the topic of the Bhagavad-gītās, well, I don't know if this camera will allow me to show this, but so these are the two different versions, both are original. And as Viśvakarmā Prabhu was mentioning, this one is the original size, and this is the more common one, which is available. Both are printed by Kṛṣṇa Books Incorporated right now. As Viśvakarmā Prabhu was mentioning, so we can work on getting these back, printing these ourselves.
Okay, I wanted to make a comment about KBI.
Yes, please.
Just so everybody knows, this is a bit of a side. Their rights were canceled in California in 2007 for failure to file with the California government. And also their so-called permission to publish these books was not granted officially by the BBT trustee, Hansa Duda. There's a very complex case that was done by them with Gupta and some of these other people. but nonetheless, they do not have the legal rights to print these books, period. So irrespective of that, we're still using the books and distributing them, because what else can we do? But our hope is to move forward with a legal position to publish these books from Canada for worldwide distribution.
What I heard is that in India, Prabhupada's family filed a lawsuit against the BBT in India because they have a law that after the departure of an author, some of their family members are entitled or legally entitled to have some of the profits from the writings of a deceased author. That Prabhupada's family sued the BBT and they won some kind of either a settlement or a compromise to be able to either get some money from the BBT or something like that. And there was some kind of a dispute with regard to the license that had been given to KBI or Krishna Books Inc. from the BBT as the result of the litigation with the BBT and the GBC against Hamsadutta. This is all I know. I don't have any more details or exactly what is going on. But there are many devotees who have printed books before, like Jidharati and others, and basically things are going on, either rogue printing or separate printing or independent printing, whatever that may be. Because the whole issue of the ownership of the copyrights is something that's never validated in the courts. It's never properly been explained or documented. Anyway, we'll leave that topic for now. We're almost at 8:25 here. Any other comments or remarks?
Just so you know, we have all of the registrations from Washington on file with our here at the ashram, and with Abhimanyu Prabhu, who was assigned as the trustee by Hamsadutta before his death. And I also spoke to Hamsadutta before his death. And I've seen the documents, and they're very official. And Yaśodā, as you said, it's a very complicated matter. It's not a matter of discussion today for us at this Bhagavad-gītā session, but it is relevant in the sense that Prabhupada's desire was that his books be distributed globally in the pure form that he presented them to, and not with all of the changes that have gone on in these yellow Gītas. This thing here. This particular book. These books are illegal, not only spiritually, but materially. So this kind of thing has been going on. So what we'll do is we're at 11:27. I'm just going to end up with a few announcements. Prabhus, if you're not able to attend the classes for whatever reason during the weeks that follow, you can subscribe to Prabhupada TV, which is our YouTube channel. And it is important that everybody push the subscribe button on the YouTube channel. And this will automatically put into your the classes when they come up. For example, when I go to Prabhupada TV, I can see all of the classes that we've posted to date being broadcast on Prabhupada TV. I think we have 12. Is it Venkat? How many do we have?
I think around 14 now,
12
and
or 15.
I think 14, and one more has yet to be posted. The last season, Chaitanya Charitamrita, yet to be posted up.
Right now, I just counted as 15.
15, yeah, thank you. I thought I saw it last night, 15. So then there's 16 and then there'll be 17. So these classes are for those, like, for example, in Hawaii, Jonas Priya, he is a Prabhupada disciple, a really good devotee of ours and a member of the Prabhupada Disciples Association. So because of time, he's 6 hours prior to our class here at 10 a.m. So he's at 6. So it's too early in the morning for him. So he's able to attend the classes. Jai Gaur Sundar in Bangkok, I speak to him regularly. So he goes to the classes through Prabhupada TV. Okay, and Venkat, how do they become connected to Prabhupada TV? What's the simplest way?
They can go to the YouTube channel. So I'll send out the link by email after this class to all our email list so that everyone will have that.
When will the live streaming start?
Probably, I'm thinking next week onwards, we can start the live streaming. Yeah.
Now with the live streaming, remember, I want all of you to, as we look at all of you as leaders in your own areas, because we only have a small group of us, very small. It's not really that, it's very small. That's all I can say. But nonetheless, we hope to grow it. So as leaders, if you have any programs that you want to do, Ram Raghava, if you've got some particular topic that you want to bring forward to educate people coming to the channel, please think of it, and we'll try to consult with you on how to create the production, get the right lighting, have the right green screen behind you if necessary, or background, and the correct microphone or camera work that you need to create your show. So you can do something maybe on Krishna consciousness and medicine, modern medicine, yourself being an engineer and a doctor. And other people, you may be a cook and you know how to cook a really good dal. I've done many videos that are online myself already from my local area here, because we're trying to promote Krishna consciousness to 13 million people in the Southern Ontario district here. There's a lot of work for us. So in the same way, Aprakrita has been doing a lot of promotion of Krishna consciousness to the French community. I was contacted by a French lady on Facebook, and she was writing to me en français. Je parle un peu français, mais Aprakrita parlait beaucoup de français. And so I said that, so we will, we're going to put a French programs into the programming on live stream. So it's going to be, if you want to do something in Spanish as well, you can film it in Spanish, and it's no problem for us to add in other languages into the programming. So because this idea is we want to get millions of subscribers to our TV channel. Okay, so everyone think about this as a way and means to expand Krishna consciousness, especially amongst your own local group. So if you have doctors that are interested, if you have musicians, if you're a musician, if they're interested, if you have businessmen that are interested, try to draw them into the class. Like today, we had 19 people come to the class. How many people is that? That's nobody. So compared to what's going on in the society and how internet is proliferating messages and information, we have to strive to build this network, because this is the new preaching platform, everyone. This is it. It's not just going on the street, standing there, holding up a BTG and running up, hey, do you want to buy this? That's okay. That's a good thing. Prabhupada wants us to do Harinam. He said at least 1 hour a day. But the real preaching work is helping people come online with these classes and our channel and bring them on to the understanding that Prabhupada is the pure devotee. And he is our Siksha and Diksha Guru. So I think that's all for today. If you could, Vinkat, please bring up the chanting, and we'll listen to some chanting, and then we'll also pay our obeisances to each other at the end of the class, and we'll carry on and look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, Srimad Bhagavatam class. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Jai Shri Prabhupada. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Thank you very
Jai
much.
Prabhupada.
Jai.
Jai Shri Prabhupada. Krishna, Hari Bol.